Robert Jenrick has been branded a racist by the left of our country after secret audio revealed that he said that he did not see a white face on a trip to a suburb of Birmingham recently. Well, Jenrick strongly denies that this is racism, and he goes on to say in that same audio that this is not about skin colour, it's about integration. And frankly, I don't think he's wrong. And let's be crystal clear about something. This isn't about racism. It's about common sense. It's about fairness and the brutal honesty too many people in Westminster and the liberal media elite wouldn't dare utter a conversation they don't want us to have. And what's often lost in all this outrage is that his observation was not an accusation, it was a symptom. A symptom of what's happening to British society, to representation, to our cities, to our sense of identity and the cultural fabric of Britain. First, let's call out the immediate reaction. People crying, oh, he's racist, he's dog whistling. It's the same old response, isn't it? Try to shut down the debate before the debate even begins. But saying aloud that something is out of balance does not make you a bigot or a racist. It makes you someone paying attention to what's going on in Britain. In fact, the observation might be absolutely correct, as the suburb he visited in Birmingham, a place called Handsworth, is made up of 88% of people from an ethnic minority background. So perhaps he genuinely didn't see a white face. That is potentially just a fact. But for decades, British cities have changed. Demographics are shifting. Areas that were once overwhelmingly majority white are now majority non-white. And this change is happening at a rapid pace. But the institutional reaction to this, the elite reflex, is to shove any acknowledgement of that change into the racism box, the far right box, to shut anyone down who dares notice a shift and mentions it. But Robert is right to raise the question. In public services, in government institutions, in civic leadership in our cities, do we still reflect the Indigenous majority? Or have we ceded representation? When you walk into certain buildings in parts of Birmingham, whose faces do you see? When you walk into some government buildings in parts of London, when you walk into some towns, whose voices are being heard? Who feels at home? These are questions the British public are asking, and they do not feel that they want to be made to feel uncomfortable by asking it. And no one should be silenced for asking it either. Now, let me ask you this. If you went to a small town or a country in South Asia and found that there was an entire town there that was made up of 88% white British people with shop signs written in English, not the local language, and the population there did not speak the Indigenous language, do you think that those people living in that country would think that's acceptable or think that it was well integrated? Do you think the majority of native people in that country might feel foreign in their own towns? I think the obvious answer to that, and the human answer, is yes, they would. I really don't think Robert is demonizing communities of colour. He's saying that integration is failing. He even goes on to clarify that in the so-called secret leaked audio. And of course, cities and towns across the United Kingdom are becoming, and many are worried about this, a new monoculture, not multicultural, not British culture, but an entirely different thing. That is a valid conversation we must have in this country. He's shining a light on it. And every time you shine a light on something, some people are going to squirm, but so be it. And to his critics, if your first reflex is accusation rather than argument, then your position is frankly quite weak. The moment someone says something uncomfortable, we no longer see who we once were, for example, if your only answer is you're racist, you're far right, well, you have no counter argument because you can't agree or argue, with a label, only a fact. So label it, dismiss it and move on. But Robert refuses to move on, doesn't he? And let me tell you, British identity is a real thing. English ethnicity is a real thing. English identity, Scottish identity, Welsh identity, these are parts of a country that in some places are now lacking in those identities. And it's not that I'm a white supremacist or British supremacist or far right. We are not saying that minorities can't or shouldn't be in Britain or shouldn't have a voice. We are just saying when the majority culture disappears from its own cities, its own towns, its own institutions, there's probably something there worth talking about. It's not hatred, that is observation of what's happening in our country. And the problem we've had is that the truth always receives a backlash. Anyone who points out this kind of imbalance is accused of stirring division, accused of racism. Yet nothing stirs division more than silencing honest conversation, silencing people who have concerns about the culture being watered down. If we can't talk candidly about this, about who holds power, who is seen, who is heard, then democracy becomes a charade. Let's be clear. Robert's criticism is not of Birmingham's people, it's on the failure of mass migration, it's on the failure of integration and the failure of governments and the media, liberal elites, who will not allow anyone to discuss this without there being mad accusations of racism. We must talk about this. The country is teetered around this topic for so long. It's even one of the main accusations as to why the rape gang scandal ran away in this country. Robert Jenrick's point is provocative, yes, because it forces the question, who is Britain today? Can I say this? If Britain is for no particular group, then every group should see themselves in the state. But when the majority group no longer sees itself in the state, something is broken. So no, this is not racism. It's a wake-up call, and it's an insistence that in remaking our cities, we don't erase ourselves. We shouldn't erase British identity, because identity, continuity, representation, these things matter. And in fact, we have had great community relations. We've had great assimilation for many, many years. But the rate of that, of people coming into the country in their millions, thanks to the Tory government and successive Labour governments, has created a feeling that our culture is being slowly eroded and that many cities no longer feel like Britain. I don't think that's racist to point that out. I don't think Robert Jenrick is wrong to point it out. And if we don't fix it, we will not have a voice and we will not be able to fix it. I'm just going to do that last bit again. Robert is right to point it out. And if we don't see it and we don't say how we feel, then this feeling across the country will only boil over and get worse. I've been Alex Armstrong. This is GB News Originals. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest, and download the GB News app while you're at it.